Obviously, it was a rough start, going down one goal, but we stuck with it. We kept going, we kept pushing, and resiliency was a big part of our preseason. So I felt like that happened today, so it was good.
The moment of the goal, describe it as far as everything that was going through, as far as the emotions.
Yeah, it's a crazy feeling. You can't describe it, but being there with my guys, with the fans, it doesn't get better than that.
Well, we're live. Welcome to another edition of the Afterburn Soccer Show. It's official now. We're out of preseason mode, and now we're in the midst of the season as FC Dallas action got underway last Saturday night, and so we're here to talk about it. Thanks for following along, for sharing the stream, for subscribing to the pod. My name is Nathan. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill, and with me tonight is our good friend Jose. You can follow him at El Chico.
What's up, everybody?
Pomona. Excited to have you, Jose. And hey, we're in good spirits. The soccer is back, and a full slate of games this past week and weekend. But the big news is that FC Dallas comes from behind to defeat the visiting team,
San Jose.
San Jose. Luchi Gonzalez's former FC Dallas head coach, the Quakes, 2-1. And it felt like a first game of a season. Two very similar teams. In fact, seeing Grezzo out there, just your heart hurts a little bit. Your heartache.
It does.
The one that got away, so to speak. Very similar teams. And for a moment early on, San Jose looked shades of last year, where FC Dallas makes stupid mistakes. And they give their opponent an entry into the match, a 1-0 goal, a rebounded goal for San Jose to open up the scoring. And you wonder, is this team going to struggle? But boy, folks stepped up. And it's a new year, it's a new mentality. But Illarramendi with a incredible, should be goal of the week in my opinion. People can disagree. Assisted himself off a corner kick, and then very, very late, just when we felt like a draw was a good result, all in all, Dante Sealy comes up with the clutch goal, and you just heard him talking about that to media after the game. So, Jose, what were your reactions to this come-from-behind win?
For most of the match, it looked like FC Dallas of last season. Honestly, we had a lot of goal early, not uncommon. We've seen this team fail to get motivated for games and things like that, or maybe not get up to speed and get caught with their pants down early. And then you saw them slowly get back into the game, find their groove, and having the man that has pretty much looked, like the best guy on the roster in Illara basically comes through with a goal. And it's like him, Tafari, seeing those guys basically elevate the players around them, because let's face it, we all know this was not a full strength FC Dallas team. I'm sure San Jose isn't full strength either, but I'm only concerned about my team, and knowing that FC Dallas wasn't full strength, far from it. At this time last year, we would be happy as hell to walk out with 1 point, and we looked like we're going to walk out with just the 1 point, and none of us were really complaining about it. But here's the thing: last year, this team failed to find an answer, failed to find a way to turn a draw into a win, and to see that at the death goal from Dante Sealy, the guy who has shown flashes throughout the preseason, and we were like, is it just smoke? He was looking like he was struggling there for many parts of the game, but he's just showing that it's not smoke. He's got something, he's not polished, but my God, having players that can turn a draw to a win, that's what this team lacked last season, and this is a good sign. It's a good omen for this team going forward.
Yeah, I think that's the big storyline. I do think like that we looked good for the points. I think not that San Jose looked terrible. I mean, San Jose looked very formidable as well. A very good approach and how they approached this game and pushed FC Dallas. But yeah, last season, if we're starting Herbert in delay, it was because he was the next man up. He was the only person healthy who could play, in a position at points in that season, and you were just hoping for anything. But here, even Herbert, not the greatest game for him, but in this new role, he certainly showed flashes and acquitted himself fairly well. You had Logan Farrington, the rookie, getting his first start and his first professional soccer experience, played really well. You had the team step up, basically, and in a new formation, in a really competitive. It's not preseason anymore, without some of your best players, and they got the job done. And last season, there were plenty of drop points because we lacked that extra something. And so that was, I think that's a big storyline to say, hey, this team can get things done even when Jesus is out, even when our star striker isn't here yet. Even when Paxton, our midfield engine, is on the pitch, we can find a way to get things done. So I agree with you on that. What was your take, Jose, on Farrington and on this first start for him?
Exciting. I mean, another player that clearly needs a little polishing, but you see the tools. The tools are there. The physical player, and you're like, hey, this is a rookie. And he's going to have time to settle in. And I mean, he looked great. And it was exciting to see a rookie start right off the bat and looked like he fit, like he belonged. um, I also want to say, add to that this match kind of saw Nico do something that he hasn't really done much in Dallas, and that is embrace the youth. We've all been wondering what he's going away from the youth. He's signing veterans, and but Endeley, Sealy, Farrington, they're all young. They're all kids, man. And here they are on the first match of the week at home. I mean, of the season, and Nico is leaning on these young players, and for the most part, they made them look good. I mean, of the three, Endeley is probably the one that struggled the most, but again, I'm not gonna hold that against him or Dante or Farrington, because let's face it, it's just the tip of the iceberg. These kids will only get better with minutes. Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's still winter. We got that little stuff going around. Anyway, but yep. It is good. It's good to see from Nico, and I think some of it too is putting them in a position where they can use some of their skills, and have time to develop. Because it doesn't mean, I think Herbert in delay, for example, is he's certainly spent some time with North Texas in that right back, that wing back position. But he also got played as a winger with North Texas and had to come in and play some with Dallas up top. But yeah, it was good to see when you're in a position like that, and you can utilize your speed and your skill, but also see the field in front of you, which is what we've seen sometimes for that young outside backs kind of make a better transition at times, because they have time to sort of adjust and get to the feel of the game and the flow of the game, and they can see what's in front of them rather than up on an island. So some good stuff. But Farrington was the surprise for me, just because of it was a big moment, and no one would have thought anything if he had struggled. If he had struggled to make an impact and been subbed off early in the second half or something,
or if he looked lost or anything like that. Yeah.
Because it's like, man, he's a rookie. It's a huge jump from college to to the pro level. It takes every player time to adjust, whether or not you have talent or not, and so for him to play as well as he did and be such a positive force, really exciting, and gives fans a little relief if Musa goes down or something like that, or just someone needs a break here and there. And even this coming week, when we think ahead, which we'll get to later in the show, but what if Musa's just not quite ready yet, and you want to bring him in as a sub for this first home game? now Nico has that flexibility. If they want to be a little cautious with Musa right away, they have an option now.
And well, and here's the other thing. Farrington played the entire match. I thought, yeah, he's looking good, but thinking he's a rookie, they're going to sub him out, and they didn't. They brought in Ansa, and then I believe they had him drop off and be the secondary striker, and he looked good. And to his credit, in his brief stint, Ansa looked good, and maybe that's just a good sign for a guy who we've all been critical of, an Ansa coming off, and in what, like 6-7 minutes of playing time, he looks solid. He looks. If you can turn that guy into a solid guy off the bench that can give you a good 10-15 minutes, then I can live with that, especially since he's clearly behind Farrington at the moment. So I'm very excited from what we saw. Yes, it's just the first week, but it's a win. I can't help myself.
Yeah, and it's exciting. There's going to be bumps in the road and ups and downs. I mean, I like to I like what I saw from Herbert Indele, even if he wasn't. He did cough the ball up some, and he just wasn't quite there yet. But I think the fact that Nico trusted him, and then you had your security blanket like Tomasi to come on and help lock the game down, or push the game. And what I loved about Tomasi is he came right on and asked for the ball. I mean, he was just ready to go. So there's going to be a lot of competition on those outside back spots. Flexibility for Nico to approach different game plans, whether he wants to start Farfan or Tomasi right away. And of course, again, we didn't see Paxton on the field yet. Jesus out there yet. Velasco is going to be farther out, and of course Musa. So there's a high ceiling for this team. I think.
You know what? This formation actually solved a couple of issues that the team had last year with some of the players, with the young players they had. In that, you look at Endele, who was having a hell of a year with North Texas. Here's a kid who they wanted to convert to a fullback, but he was playing so good at right midfielder or attacking right winger that they couldn't play him there. So here's a kid that you were hoping to convert to a fullback, but he's showing he's better off on the wing. So moving him to a right wing back, that seems to be the right answer. And it's the same thing with Dante Sealy, who by the way had to play fullback last year in emergency, and he's another guy. He's not a fullback. So what do? He's he's looking like a guy he's made a smart choice. It fixes two issues with him, and he's gambling that Kamungo can make the transition to playing more on the inside, which I think Kamungo looked very solid, considering he hadn't looked that great in preseason, and it also gives you hope that a kid like Isaiah Parker, who we've all been disappointed with, another guy who they were hoping to convert to a fullback, who simply hasn't, it's a liability back there. Right wing back would be more of a fit for him too. So now a guy like him, who we've all like, well, he's a bust. Maybe not. With this formation, he has newfound life. If he can get on a roll in North Texas, playing that position, now all of a sudden he becomes a viable option to get senior minutes in the future when we're hard up for him. So I do appreciate how this formation answers that question. And by the way, let's not forget that whenever we get Giovanni Jesus back, he was a better attacker than a defender. So it also should help him also being a right wing back instead of a fullback. And that I think in the end, this formation, the big winners here are the young players that were they were trying to transition, which, like I just mentioned, 4 of them. They're the big winners in this.
And by the way, I'm glad you got the deep cut of Isaiah Parker. He started at right wing back for North Texas today, a 2-1 win in preseason friendly against Austin FC 2. So that's a nice little nugget to watch out for. I was intrigued by that. And Pondeka got minutes as well there, and so that was some of those players getting an opportunity to get their feet under them. And we'll talk about North Texas later on. They're still in preseason
Sure,
mode, but we'll be
of
sharing
course.
some more and having some info about that team and their outlook this coming year. So yeah, yeah, we can't forget Giovan Jesus too, who has been out for a while with injury and should be weeks away from returning. It might be a few more weeks, but so there'll be a lot of opportunities. It looks like a roster with some depth for
It's
sure.
it's gonna be a 3-man battle on the right side for minutes because Giovanni Jesus is not gonna be given a starting job. They're gonna bring him in, so he's gonna you know have to earn small minutes here and there, and you can bet that Endele and Tuamasi will not be willing to give those minutes up freely. So once he gets back, that it's going to be a 3-way battle for minutes. I'm kind of excited about how that'll pan out because each one will have a different strength. I mean,
Mm.
Giovanni Jesus should be the front runner, but let's face it, the fact that he won't be 100%, and who knows how long it'll take him, will give plenty of time for the other two to make their case. It's going to be an exciting battle to watch throughout the season.
Yeah, definitely. So a couple other little topics before we move on. Of course, Illarramendi. Everyone has been, he came in and made an impact last season, but still was new to the team, obviously, but certainly helped them get into the playoffs, and had a very good debut. But all the word out of during preseason was that he's just been on fire. He's been so professional. He's been such an asset. He's really buying in. He doesn't look like he's a player at the end of his career. He looks like he has plenty in the gas tank.
Modern sports medicine for you.
Yeah, and he's having fun out there and such an asset to this team. I mean, I asked Coach Nico during the press conference after the game. I said, was there a better player on the pitch among two teams than Asier Illarramendi? Illarramendi, and of course Nico laughed, but just acknowledged how professional and what a gift it is to have him, and how lucky FC Dallas sort of figured that out when he was gonna retire. He was gonna hang up his cleats back in Spain, evidently. But what was your take on his performance there in the midfield?
I mean, everything you expected from him and then some. I remember when we were watching preseason, and we were we were noticing that Ilara was being allowed to go forward and attack more. And I remember one time during one of our conversations saying, "Wow, Ilara looks kind of sexy going forward," you know. And there you go. So I'm not at all surprised he scored because he has that in his wheelhouse, and we're just now seeing it this year. He wasn't really asked to do that much last year, and now to see him that he has that in his wheelhouse, good God, that's very exciting because everything else he does is already top notch. A true professional, a man who takes good care of his body, and what is he, 33? I mean, he looks like he's got several years left in him, and he has the potential to be. We already think he's a great signing. He could be one of the best signings, potential. I'm just showing from what I'm going off of. It's like he was amazing last year, and he looks like he stepped it up. Like he's like, oh, that's not even my level. I have another level. So it's kind of exciting to see him out there doing stuff
Mm-hmm.
that at delivering. I think him and Tuamasi are the two guys that elevated the other players around him when they fell behind first. Going down a goal so early. You don't want to see the team get deflated, and I think him and Tuamasi are two of the guys that sort of elevated everyone around them and kept everybody cool, and you love to see it.
What about the 3-man back line? Do you think that is the number one? That's Ibiaga, that's Tafari, and Junca. Is that the number one lineup going forward for Dallas? Do
I
you
think it
think?
is.
Okay.
I think it is, and I'll say it right now. I mean, let's face it. Yes, they allowed a goal in the first 6 minutes, and everybody's just crapping on this person. But let's not forget that there was still 90 minutes to play, and for the remainder of the minutes, they kept the clean sheet. And I think that's the I think that's this team for under Nico has been a solid defensive team, but not an elite defensive team. They are prone to making mistakes and allowing a goal here or a goal there. And yes, Paz has had to bail the team out, and he had 4 saves, so you could arguably say he's done it again. But that's this defense. This defense is a solid defense, not not a welcome, not a not an elite defense, but a defense that's going to keep you in games. And let's face it, if Musa comes in and him and Jesus click and the offense starts, let's not forget they put up 21 shots. Uh, I, I want to say somebody else pointed out to me that I think I made it right on Twitter that that's the highest, that's tops the highest amount of shots they had last year, and that's without your two best strikers out there. So if you're telling me FC Dallas is suddenly going to be, averaging twice as many shots as last year, I don't allowing a goal here and there isn't going to be as hurtful as it was last year. The attack is what slowed this team down last year, not the defense. The defense isn't perfect, but it's rock solid, and I think and Hunqua is transitioning to a full time center back, so I don't have a problem with him struggling here and there, and I hope that Nico sticks with the three and doesn't do this rotating stuff that he did last year, which I truly believe helped hurt the team a little. Give these guys a chance to gel, and you'll see the communication improve as it goes.
And Junko, what a story. I mean, we talked about last year. He was sort of a late signing, a depth signing, and he became a really helpful piece in a variety of positions. But we also saw his usefulness on Saturday from the corner kicks, since we really need options there that will help make this team deadly, and so that adds a whole wrinkle to him. I do think if there's a position as these green cards settle in, where Siki is away getting his green card, who else?
Velasco's getting his green card.
Velasco's getting his green card. Maarten Paes
getting his green card.
Got his green. So there may be room for them to look at a loan, to look at another player, and maybe they will look for that center back who can play on the left, or something who can really help fill out that back three. And hey, I'll love it. I'll take it. But I was very satisfied. I think you saw the jitters from a first MLS game. Both teams weren't at their best, and so that's where things are. But Dallas found a way, and they grew into the game. So really good stuff.
And I know the preseason's over, but I always think of the first month and a half after the preseason as sort of an extension of the preseason. Like, teams still aren't, in season mode. They're not. So they're still technically, sure, they're almost they're set with their 11, but they're still gelling to some extent, and you still have players coming back from injuries and stuff like that. And we saw this last year too. Last year the team was very clunky at the beginning of the year, and so expected. This was a solid performance, and we hope we carry it. But don't be surprised if the team has some clunkers going forward, because it just feels like it's not long a preseason, but it's like I like to call it a late preseason. They're still tweaking things. They're still finalizing things, and not just them. Everybody across the league is.
Yeah, really good stuff. Well, let's go ahead and start shifting our attention to what's coming up, which is FC Dallas is back at home on Saturday against Montreal, who have a new head coach, I believe, and looked to also be mirroring a sort of Columbus Crew style. And because their former head coach left Montreal to go to the Crew and led the Crew to another championship last season, so hey, why not? And so it's a Montreal team that can be very dangerous and looked very good in their opening game and of the season. So it'll be an interesting challenge.
But didn't they lose? Did they lose or did they draw?
Let me check. I think they played well.
They drew. I think
they drew.
No, let's see.
I'm
Yeah,
yeah, they drew.
they
They
got a draw.
Orlando.
Yeah,
Um, and so, and I believe it was in Orlando, if I'm correct. Yes, and so kind of a disappointing game there for uh, for Pareja and an Orlando team that looks to be really stacked this year. It could be a really good year. So I think Montreal made their life difficult. So a draw is not out of the question here.
it's a
But
solid result for them on the road, but at the same time, they were on the road, and now they got to travel again. So you're gonna have a team that's be playing on some weary legs. That's no joke. Traveling to Orlando, then having to travel to Dallas. That's one thing that people forget about this league is the travel times are long. They're draining, and it's not like you pack yourself up and just going to the state over or to the city an hour or two away. This is some long trips, and it wears on these teams, and it's why it's tough to win on the road. I believe the record I saw was 7-1-4 or 7-1-5 was the record of the home teams. The opening week,
mhm.
and with only one loss, and you know who that one loss was.
One of our in-state rivals, I guess.
Whatever, in-state rivals. But yeah, I mean, this early in the season with like I said, all the teams still trying to get their act together. Being at home is a massive advantage, more so at this time of the year, I believe. Uh, and it helps you overcome some of those issues that you have. Like we will get some players back, but let's not pretend like they're gonna play a full 90 minutes. We may get Jesus, Paxton back, but they're probably gonna be coming off the bench. You know, Nico is very conservative, and I'm sure he's not gonna want to start these guys. I'm sure they're gonna demand to start, but the smart play is bringing them off the bench. I doubt we get to see Musa. Um, uh, like I said, Nico's very conservative, and this is good. After the performance the team had, I'm looking forward to see what Montreal has to offer against them because I haven't been high on Montreal. I don't know too much about them, but I haven't really been impressed with anything they did. That's not to say they're a good team. I didn't see them play, so I just know Orlando, like you said, is a good team, and getting a result at Orlando, a draw, tells you that they're going to be difficult. They're going to be a team that would be happy to walk out of Dallas with a point. And so I think we are right to expect a close match. And maybe having a guy like Paxton Jesus coming in late in the game could be the difference between a 1 point or three.
Well, you were saying something before the show, Jose. That I think also as we look ahead, you said as you look at the upcoming schedule.
Yes, do yourself a favor and look up the upcoming schedule for FC Dallas next 6-7 weeks, and look at these opponents. So you got Montreal here, then you go to Red Bull, you got Vancouver coming here, you go to Austin, then uh, at St. Louis, before finally Seattle I think comes to town. That's a very manageable schedule. I mean, I believe our first 6-7 opponents that Dallas plays, between them, they only had only one loss, only one win between them, and that was the DC win over New England, who was on a red card. So I think there are points to be had for this team. There's the schedule is not a daunting schedule. I think it's a very favorable schedule for FC Dallas early, and there's a chance for this team to start out hot, but it starts with this next week. Get the 3 points against Montreal, handle your business at home. And I'm just saying our road opponents aren't formidable. St. Louis is probably going to go through the sophomore slump, and Austin is struggling right now. Those are two of your three road games, and of course you got New York Red Bull, who I don't honestly believe are that formidable at home. So, and I'm not saying we're going to beat all these teams, but I'm just saying I think Dallas can get points on the road, and I like the schedule early on. I think it's a favorable schedule for this team. It's not like, oh my God, we got to play Seattle or an LAFC and Columbus, in the first couple of weeks. We play teams that are at FC Dallas level or below, and I think Dallas has a favorable schedule, and that's just my opinion. That's my take. Dallas is a very favorable schedule the next uh, 6 to 7 weeks, and if they can handle their business, you could see FC Dallas get off to a hot start.
Which would be great if yeah. I mean, it's you
You got
start like that, and you're in the supporter shield contention at least. You put your name in there as an early. I mean, a
you
long
need
season, but you
you need
get a
that hot
strong
start
start.
to overcome the eventual dungeon, the eventual drop that this team tends to get, uh, in the summer and whatnot. So it would be nice to get this. I think this is young enough team that if they can get some wins and build some momentum, this is a young enough team that that can basically shield them from some of their flaws. Young teams that feel unbeatable are very tough to defeat because they don't know they can lose. So I think it's very important for us to get off to a hot start. And like I said, some of your players are pretty young. Uh, we always say that about them. We always
Hmm.
say that about Dallas. Is like, but it's true. It's true. I mean, you're waiting for some of your veteran players to come back, and you're talking about Jesus and Paxton. Those are your veteran players that you're bringing back. They're still young.
Well, it's going to be exciting to see how this team adapts, and of course, hey fans, it's FC Dallas. So it's a tough league. Parity is real on this league, and so there'll be some ups and downs. There'll be some tough performances, but there's a lot to look forward to, even from this week one showing, and the players and reinforcements on the way. And so we have a lot to look forward to. I'm excited. I'm excited too about North Texas this year to see how they adapt to this new system and give some guys minutes to adjust and a preview of what could be to come for this team as well.
I just want to add one more thing. When you asked me about the back line, I neglected to mention the reason why I was happy with the back line. And it comes down to one man, and that's Tafari. He looks like that anchor. He looks like he's also raised his game to another level. He looks like a guy you should never, ever, ever, ever take out of the starting lineup. He he simply looks like the natural, like, we miss Hedges when he left. He's a legend, and now he looks like the heir apparent. He looks like the guy that is going to keep the players around him performing to a level, and making sure that it doesn't turn into a dumpster fire. So that's why I'm excited about the back line. It's because of Tafari. He looks like the guy that can anchor that back line and keep us in games.
Mm. Well, good stuff. Well, I think this is a good stopping point. I know you got some lasagna to enjoy.
Well, it's not. It's for tomorrow. I made
Oh,
it too
okay. All
late to
right.
eat
All
it.
right. Well, I didn't.
But yes, I got this big giant pan of homemade lasagna that
Oh, that'll be good.
smells wonderful, but I can't have it.
Well, good. When we're back, and we are just for folks watching and listening in even later, we're going to be working on some guests to come in, just like we had Armand for our little preseason show, and just some folks from the FC Dallas community and talking and sharing. And of course, we'll also be looking at some interviews and other content from players and staff, and just to get an insight of how this team is progressing this year and their goals, and this is the stories. And there's a lot of really, really interesting stories. I mean, North Texas signed another walk-on, so it sounds like a really intriguing player, and we'll get a chance to see if he's another in this line of Kamungo and
I didn't
walk-ons.
hear who they signed. Was that the British kid that they signed?
No, and I didn't. Oh, you know what? I'm right here on the webpage. Interesting guy. Yeah, look him up. Leo Londe Jr. He
Oh
is
yeah, no. I think he was with the team last year. Believe it or not,
okay.
Londe. I I think he. Well, I knew about him, so I think he was already signed. Um, unless they, I'll have to look it up. But I
Oh
thought he
yeah,
was
he
already
did
part
sign
of the
last
team.
year. I'm sorry, but so they have a good piece there about his story.
Yeah.
And but he didn't make it the first year he tried out, and then in 2023 he was able to
Yeah,
make
because
his
I
way
thought
into
he
the
was
team.
already, because I know some of the trialists. I was pretty high on. There's this British kid that is a center back, big center back, who's played in the championship. I mean, he's not he got minutes in championship. He wasn't like a regular or anything like that. Um, so yeah, it's nice to see that some of their trialists are, they're not here from places we've never heard of. They're coming from Europe, from bigger clubs. Maybe they couldn't make it there, but they're here trying to earn a second chance. And North Texas is a great stepping stone towards Dallas. So I think I think the fact that North Texas has shown a willingness to sign walk players that are trialists, and people are seeing those trialists get chances with the senior team, it becomes a very inviting place for someone who's trying to break in and say, "Hey, we've got all these teams, MLS Next teams that we can go try out for, but we know that if we perform with North Texas, they're willing to give us a shot at the senior team." So I think it raises the profile of the trials that we're getting here.
Well, good stuff. Well, it's exciting, a lot to look forward to, and of course, thanks everybody for joining us.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks, RT. All right, we'll be seeing you, of course, and of course, like and subscribe, share the podcast. Of course, follow us on afterburn.soccer and on Twitter, and we'll do our best to keep everybody up to date. The big news, of course, is that Musa has landed. So, hey, it's going to be another exciting week for FC Dallas. See y'all.
See ya. Good night.